Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, theFellowKGB. You can follow me on Twitter at theFellowKGB, and it is Wednesday evening. It's about 6:30, and I'm going to be covering the Thursday night football game between the Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to be looking at theFantasyFellowship.com. Go ahead and click on the Week 3 start and sit charts. We're going to be just focusing on this game for tonight. I'll be recording the other games and the other topics probably tomorrow, and then another one on Friday. But for now, I'm just going to take probably about the next half hour, maybe 40 minutes, just to look solely at the Thursday night football game. I think this is going to be a new thing I'm doing where I'd spend, I don't know, like maybe 30, 40 minutes looking at this Thursday night football game and analyzing it and looking at last week and seeing what we can do with what we know. So we have the Dolphins and the Jaguars. So we're going to take a look here at the Miami Dolphins side of things first. I have Ryan Fitzpatrick here as a quarterback too. We got the beard versus the mustache going on, so this is going to be a lot of fun. I think the Dolphins actually kind of came alive last week with Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're going to look at the Buffalo Bills, Dolphins, the logs here. So we'll dive into that. But I think Ryan Fitzpatrick he's fine in a quarterback 2 Superflex league. Then you got Mike Gesicki, of course, who I do have a little bit of write-up here about a paragraph on each team. And I think the one guy that I feel the most confident in starting is going to be Mike Gesicki. So go ahead and get him in as your tight end 1. He blew up last week for 8 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. So 11 total targets. So he was easily the best player on the Dolphins last week. And then you got the receivers here. What do we do with Devontae Parker, Preston Williams? The running back field is a mess, but it looks like Myles Gaskin is going to be the guy that you can start maybe in PPR leagues. We're not starting the Miami defense at all. We're going to look at the practice reports tonight too. They're missing, I think, Byron Jones and then maybe one of their starting safeties. So the Dolphins are going to be really shorthanded. And last week, Stephon Diggs took it to the secondary. John Brown got open deep at the end of the game. So I don't know. The Dolphins secondary, man, not something that we want to be a part of. So then you have Isaiah Ford, who really stepped up as the wide receiver 3 last week, and he runs a lot of the slot reps for them. Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, we're not starting those guys, but we're also on Tua Tagovailoa watch. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm using Pro Football Reference. We're going to kind of dive into the stats from last week's game with the Buffalo Bills. So you're going to see Ryan Fitzpatrick attempted 47 passes here, about 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked 3 times, a couple carries. But not a terrible passing game for him. I think we're not going to see the 47 volume for passing attempts, but if he gets up to 40 passing attempts, he's going to make his guys valuable. So again, all the passing stats, I feel most comfortable about Mike Gesicki. Again, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 130 yards, and a touchdown. He had an amazing one-handed grab. He just looked like a monster, and he's a year 3 breakout tight end. So if you do have the luxury of having Mike Gesicki, go ahead and fire him up in your lineups this week. And then what to do with these receivers. We see Isaiah Ford with 9 targets, Devontae Parker 8, and then Preston Williams 5. If you have Preston Williams, I have him in a couple leagues, and I've been kind of disappointed with him. He's been running out, like one of the most guys for snap counts, but he just hasn't been getting a lot of work. We see 5 targets, only 1 catch for 26 yards. So that's a little bit disappointing. So I'm kind of hesitant to get Preston Williams in as my wide receiver 3 flex. I think my approach for Preston going forward is I need to see him do something on my bench first before I get interested in tossing him out there. So I think I'm going to be sitting Preston Williams this weekend. But it looks like Devontae Parker got through last week's game without a hamstring setback, so that's really good to see. We see 8 targets, 5 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown, going up against a good corner, Tre'Davious White. So I'm pretty optimistic about Devontae Parker, again, being our wide receiver 3 for us. So I'm into that. But now let's take a look at some of the snap counts down here. So again, this is just, I'm using Pro Football Reference. You can kind of scroll down far enough, and we're going to get to, we'll see the starting lineups, and then you're going to get into the snap counts. So Devontae Parker was in on 88% of the plays, 66 total snaps. Again, Preston Williams, he's getting a lot of run, but he's just not producing yet. So he's going to stay on my bench until I see something from him that makes me want to start him. But encouraging snap counts, over 80%, 61 total snaps. But this Isaiah Ford guy right here with 48 snaps, 64%. And again, he had 9 targets. I think it was 7 catches for 79 yards. So he's a guy that, I'm not going to be whipping him out there, but I'm keeping a close eye on it, because if he does another game where he gets, 7 to 10 targets and he catches 6-7 balls, this might be a guy that we're going to be interested going forward. And then since we're down here on the snap counts, we're going to take a look at the running back snap counts. Myles Gaskin is getting 49 snaps, about 65% snap share. And then you have Matt Breida all the way down here at 16 snaps, 21%. And Jordan Howard, man, he's just not even doing anything. He gets 8 snaps, 11%. So Myles Gaskin appears to be the guy. And I think I've been telling people to pick him up in your PPR leagues this year or the last couple of weeks. We see Myles Gaskin with 7 rushing attempts, 46 yards. That's really good carry average there. And then 7 targets. That's a lot of targets for a running back. And then he gets 6 of those for 36 yards. So he's had a 10 to 14 point range so far through 2 games. So I'm kind of into Myles Gaskin. And again, if we're expecting the Dolphins to have to throw the ball a lot this year, then solely in this game, I think Gaskin's probably going to be a guy that's going to have a high floor in PPR league. So I'm into Myles Gaskin. I'm not trusting Matt Breida or Jordan Howard. We did see Jordan Howard get he converted on a goal line carry for a touchdown. So he's got 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks. So if you play like in touchdown leagues, sure, whatever. You can try to get the 6 points or you can get 0. So I think I'm just staying away completely from Matt Breida, Jordan Howard. But again, pretty simple fantasy evaluation for the Dolphins. Fitzpatrick's a quarterback 2. I think Devontae Parker can be your wide receiver 3. And then you got Mike Gesicki, of course, locked in as your tight end 1. And then we're going to see what Preston Williams can do on our bench. We're going to monitor Isaiah Ford. But overall, I really like some of the weapons on this team. And I think this game's going to be a little bit more fantasy scoring, a little bit more high points than people think. We don't expect much out of the Dolphins and the Jaguars defenses. So this game could get kind of fun. We got the beard versus the mustache again. So we'll see how this one goes for the Dolphins. And if everything goes bad for Ryan Fitzpatrick here, I think we're going to be on Tua Tagovailoa watch. They have a really tough schedule coming up, so maybe they're going to hold on to him for a little bit. But I think that pretty much covers the Dolphins side of things. I think let's go ahead here and look at just the practice reports. This is a link that I have on thefantasyfellowship.com. It'll bring you to the RotoWire practice reports. So we're just going to hit Miami here. And let's take a look here. So Byron Jones, starting quarterback, did not practice today. Everybody else looked like they logged a full practice. It looks like safety Clayton Fijedelum is doubtful. So they're going to be without their starting cornerback and one of their best safeties. So I'm not really too sure about this Dolphins defense. So we're going to see if we can get the Jacksonville Jaguars into our lineups. Let's take a look at their practice reports. This was kind of alarming. DJ Chark had a chest injury. He was limited Monday. He was limited Tuesday. And then it did not practice today, Wednesday. So that kind of raised my eyebrow. I'm not sure if that's maybe just a precautionary thing just to make sure he's 100% fully rested up for this game. So we're going to have to check our lineups before he goes out there, for warmups, and we'll see what happens there. But if DJ Chark is playing, you're going to get him in as your wide receiver 2 or 3. The other, I guess, fantasy relevant news here for the Jaguars is their starting kicker, Josh Lambo. He has been put on IR with a hip injury, so he's not practicing. He's not doing anything. They got a new kicker. Let me see who that new kicker is real quick. I can't remember his name. We're just going to type in Josh Lambo here on the Twitter machine. And if you were owning Josh Lambo and leaning on him for your kicking duties, they signed Brandon Wright here. So if you want Jacksonville kicker and you own Lambo, that would be the guy, Brandon Wright. But let's go ahead and look back at the start-sit chart for the Jaguars. I think you're starting Gardner Minshew as your quarterback 1. He's thrown 3 touchdowns in both games so far this year. Here, we're going to go ahead and click into his game last week against Tennessee. This is going to be a much more positive game script for the Jaguars. And like I said, Byron Jones is going to be out. Their starting safety is going to be out as well. And we just saw Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen lit this defense up for 400 yards. So this is a really juicy matchup for Gardner Minshew. So if you have him in a 1-quarterback league, I'm inclined to start him. He's definitely a quarterback 2 in Superflex, so try to get him in there if you can. And then because of we know the injuries to Byron Jones and the starting safety for Jadelum, I think we got to monitor DJ Chark up into kickoff. But if he plays, DJ Chark's going to be your wide receiver 2. Let's just assume DJ Chark's playing. I still like Keelan Cole here and Laviska Shenault. Let's take a look at what these guys did last week against the Titans, a much better defense than what they're going against now. So we're just going to start with snap counts. You see DJ Chark logging 79%, 59 snaps. Keelan Cole, not very far off. He's the clear number 2 receiver in this offense with 51 total snaps, 68%. And then they got Laviska Shenault here, 43 snaps, 57%. So it's kind of, when they go to 3 wide receiver sets, this is the clear order here. And then it was kind of cool to see Chris Conley got a little bit of snaps. I'm looking for Colin Johnson. I don't know if they have that. Oh, he's right here. So wide receiver, rookie, big-bodied receiver Colin Johnson. I'm kind of keeping an eye on him for dynasty leagues, but Chark, Keelan Cole, and Laviska Shenault all have my attention, along with Tyler Eifert here, 45 total snaps, 60%. And then the running backs here. Jacksonville's only been using 2 running backs through 2 games, and that is undrafted rookie James Robinson, 38 snaps, total of 51%. And then you got Chris Thompson, the third down back. This was 31 total snaps for 41%. And I think week 1, we didn't see very high snap count for Chris Thompson. That was because Jacksonville was kind of in control of that game, from halftime, I guess, into the fourth quarter. And then you see against the Titans here, they were kind of in comeback mode. They were down early, and then they were just, they had to throw a lot. So you see Chris Thompson got a lot of snaps there. I don't think I'm starting Chris Thompson. If we go back to the start-sit charts, I have Chris Thompson on my bench, Tyler Eifert on my bench. These guys I'm just kind of monitoring. So I think the overall narrative of this Jacksonville and Miami game is I'm expecting the Jaguars to be able to do kind of what they want on offense. I think they're going to be able to hit the deep shots, whether it's to Chark or Cole or even Chris Conley for that matter. Chris Conley could be a guy that pops off for a big play. But we're expecting the Jaguars offense to kind of do what they want, dictate this game and control the time of possession. So I think Minshew is going to have a really effective day throwing the ball, probably 2 or 3 touchdowns. And then you're going to probably see James Robinson here get a little bit more snaps than we saw last weekend against Tennessee. So if you do have the luxury, like if you snagged James Robinson pretty early, last week or maybe even this week, he was still on the wire. I think you're starting James Robinson as your RB2 against this Dolphins team. So last week the Titans aren't a great defense, but they're going to be better than what the Dolphins can give us. So we see James Robinson, 16 carries, 102 yards. He did rush for a touchdown. It was a really nice play that he ran. I think it was like a 20-yard touchdown or something like that. And then they're giving Laviska Shenault some carries here. So he had 5 attempts for 37 yards. And then Chris Thompson's not really a factor in the running game. So if you have James Robinson, you love this because, if they're going to run the ball, they're going to give it to James Robinson, or you're pretty much going to see Laviska Shenault lined up in the backfield every now and then. So everything's coming up James Robinson in this game. And then I do want to see – I have another reference here that I use. It's FF Today. And if you just hit stats, we're going to go ahead here. And then you see in the bottom here, they have fantasy points allowed to position. So I'm just going to click on running backs here. And then we'll filter in by PPR. That's kind of my go-to. But we can kind of see, the Panthers clearly the worst team against running back. But the Dolphins are down here at 27. It seems like more teams are wanting to focus on them in the passing game. But nonetheless, they've given up 212 rushing yards. They've given up a touchdown, not a lot of receptions. So let's just take a look at receiver and see what this is showing us. So the Dolphins have been 3rd worst through 2 games against the wide receivers. They've allowed 454 yards, 3 touchdowns, 30 catches. So that's probably how the Jaguars are going to want to attack this team. And then you would probably, if they have a lot of success early, I would imagine James Robinson's going to, start to get a lot of carries towards the end of the game, whether that's up to 16 or even 20 carries. So again, teams are attacking the Dolphins in the secondary. Byron Jones is out, starting safety is out. So that's why I feel pretty good about these other passing weapons here for Jacksonville. So we see Keelan Cole with 7 targets last week, 6 catches, 58 yards, and the touchdown. That's his 2nd touchdown in 2 games. DJ Chark only had 4 targets, but he caught all 4 of them for 84 yards. He had a really nice, really like a deep ball kind of contested catch, but I think that's the one that he got injured on for his chest. But still, DJ Chark's in. We're starting DJ Chark. And then Chris Conley, this was the one that stuck out to me. He had 7 targets. And again, we saw if we looked at the snap counts below, we saw Chris Conley was the 4th used receiver, but he's got 7 targets. So that's interesting. When he's on the field, they're going to take their shots with Chris Conley. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him connect on a deep ball or 2 tomorrow night. Again, 4 receptions, 48 yards. And then you're going to see Tyler Eifert right here with the next most amount of targets, 6 targets, 3 catches for 36 yards and the touchdown. He almost had another touchdown in this game. So Devontae Parker or Jerick McKinnon for flex. That's a really good spot. I'm assuming this is a PPR league. I think it's like a risk versus reward kind of option. If you want to be more risky, I would say Devontae Parker's got the greater range of outcomes, whereas Jerick McKinnon, the question came in here from Semanyu Yashi, or is it Yoshi? But we're talking Parker here and McKinnon. I think McKinnon's going to offer you a little bit higher floor. Jeff Wilson's probably going to steal, 10 to 12 carries. I would imagine McKinnon's going to get 8 to 10 carries, but he's also going to be used pretty heavily in the passing game. And the receivers are all dinged up, so you could see Jerick McKinnon maybe get 4 or 5 catches. anywhere between 40, 50 yards in the air, and then maybe add some more on the ground. So I think McKinnon is the safer play, but I get it if you want to go Parker, because Parker, he was healthy with the hamstring coming out of last week's game. He did catch the touchdown. And again, 8 targets. And just because we think the Jaguars are going to be able to control this game, we're going to see the Dolphins have to play catch up and keep throwing the ball. The Jaguars have a rookie cornerback starting for them. That's CJ Henderson. So I don't know if you would think Parker would be able to beat him, a couple times throughout the game for a deep shot. But then again, we really don't know if the hamstring acts up again, or if there's just going to be a lingering injury. So I think I like McKinnon for the safe play. But if you want to get a little bit of risk involved, I'd say Devontae Parker could be your guy. But let's take a look here at, the start-sit charts again. So I got Keelan Cole listed as a flex. Laviska Shenault, again, we see him getting the carries, getting some useful receptions. It wouldn't surprise me to see him score. I'm going to add Chris Conley to the bench. I think he could be a DFS play for us. But that's pretty much it for the Jaguars. I think they're going to have a really successful day on offense. Gardner Minshew has just been he's been so efficient. We see 30 for 45, 339 yards passing the other day. And he's just making it work with everything that they got going. They don't play a lot of guys, so the guys are kind of highly concentrated. But I think you're going to want to get your Jaguars in the lineups if you can. And so just monitor DJ Chark's status leading up into the game. We're going to watch Tyler Eifert and see if he has another good game, he might be a guy that we're picking up next week. Again, I said he almost had another touchdown, so it could have been a much bigger day, and people probably would be looking at him on the waiver wire this week. But if you have any questions on the Thursday night football game, I think that's going to do it for this video. It only ended up being about 16, 17 minutes long. But I guess I just kind of want to share my thoughts going into the rest of the game. So what I'm going to be doing here is, I write a paragraph for each game going forward, but I think what I'm going to do going forward is I'm just going to leave the start and sit charts as they are and update these throughout the week. But I'm kind of working on another thing here now called the 2020 Opportunity Report. And we're going to go ahead and click into week 2. And then what this is going to tell you is I'm doing this for every team, but you're going to see the passing stats for the quarterback. We're going to see the snap counts for all positions. So I did running backs, receivers, and tight ends. I broke those down. And then you're going to get the target display, and then you're going to get the rushing stats. So this kind of paints the picture of what happened the week before. And it's just going to be something that I put out. I'm trying to put these out maybe on Tuesday and Wednesdays going forward. And then this is going to basically replace – I'm still probably going to write a start-sit paragraph article for Thursday Night Football, but I think my plan going forward is to kind of just leave the start-sit charts as they are, and because basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of just recapping what happened last week anyways and telling start this guy, but I think the charts speak for themselves, so I'm going to leave those be the charts, and then I'm going to do the opportunity report on the side. So a lot of good things brewing. I do have all the start-sits in there for the week, so go ahead and check those out. Again, we got the link to the RotoWire practice reports. You can also click on the link here for the snap counts. You could just kind of filter what you need and take a look and see what's going on. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. You can follow me on Twitter at theFellowKGB. If you have any questions, hit me up on there. We're also on Facebook too. Just type in the Fantasy Fellowship on Facebook. Ask questions, check out some of the videos. I'll probably be recording tomorrow's video around I'll probably get in about 6 o'clock and start recording that. That'll cover all the noon games for Sunday. So for now, I think that's going to do it for Thursday Night Football. Get your Jaguars in, think about some Dolphins, and enjoy the game. And thank you for your time. We'll see you in another video. Peace.